Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome back to the daily readings of Srila Prabhupada's books. We're taking a journey through the Caitanya-caritämrta, the glories of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and particularly his teachings. If you think the coronavirus is bad, listen to this. In due course, Mahäprabhu, devastating floods, will inundate the entire universe. If you attempt to survive by swimming in that deluge, then do not neglect to take hold of Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and Sri Caitanya-caritämrta. Or, if you cannot hold all three, then release Bhagavad Gita. If necessary, you may also relinquish Srimad Bhagavatam. But under no circumstances release your hold on Sri Caitanya-caritämrta. For if this one book remains, then the flood can do no actual damage. Because after it has subsided, the message of Shastra can be revived from Sri Caitanya-caritämrta alone, it being the essence of all Shastra. So said Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Okay, we've reached Ädi-lilä, chapter 2. We've heard the glories of the spiritual masters. And now we're hearing the proof of how it is that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself. We've reached text number 12. And it's basically explaining the second verse of the opening 14 verses of the Caitanya-caritämrta. Text 12. What the Upanishads call the transcendental, impersonal Brahman is the realm of the glowing effulgence of the same Supreme Person. Purport. 3 mantras of the Mundaka Upanishad, 2, 2, 9, and 11, 9 through 11, give information regarding the bodily effulgence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They state, Hiranmaye Parakoshe Vijadam Brahmanishkalam Tachchubram Joshtisam Jyotishthadyad Atmavido Viduhu Natatra Suryo Bhati Nachandra Tadakam Nema Vidyuto Bhanti Kuto Yam Agnihi Tam Eva Bantam Anubhati Sarvam Tasya Bhasa Sarvam Idam Vibhati Brahmai Vedam Amritam Purastad Brahma Paschad Brahma Dakshinatas Chutorena Adas Chordvam Chab Prashtitam Brahmai Vedam Vishwam Idam Vadhishtam. In the spiritual realm, beyond the material covering, is the unlimited Brahman effulgence, which is free from material contamination. That effulgent white light is understood by transcendentalists to be the light of all lights. In that realm, there is no need of sunshine, moonshine, fire, or electricity for illumination. Indeed, whatever illumination appears in the material world is only a reflection of that supreme illumination. That Brahman is in front and in back, in the north, south, east, and west, and also overhead and below. In other words, that supreme Brahman effulgence spreads throughout both the material and spiritual skies. This means that it's the background of everything. It's resting. The whole material world is resting, just like clouds are resting in the sky, in the material world. Text 13. As with the naked eye, one cannot know the sun except as a glowing substance. Merely by philosophical speculation, one cannot understand Lord Krishna's transcendental varieties. Yasya prabha prabhavato jagadanda koti shvashesha vasudhadi vibhuti bhinam yad brahma nishkalam anantamashesha bhutam govindam adipurusham tamaham bhajami. That's text 14. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who was endowed with great power. The glowing effulgence of his transcendental form is the impersonal Brahman, which is absolute, complete, and unlimited, and which displays the varieties of countless planets with their different opulences in millions and millions of universes. Purport. This verse appears in the Brahma Samhita 540. Each and every one of the countless universes is full of innumerable planets with different constitutions and atmospheres. All these come from the unlimited, non-dual Brahman, or complete whole, which exists in absolute knowledge. The origin of that unlimited Brahman effulgence is the transcendental body of Govinda, who is offered respectful obeisances as the original and supreme personality of Godhead. 15. Lord Brahma said, the opulences of the impersonal Brahman spread throughout the millions and millions of universes. That Brahman is but the bodily effulgence of Govinda. 16. I worship Govinda. He is my Lord. Only by his grace am I empowered to create this universe. Purport. Although the sun is situated far away from the other planets, its rays sustain and maintain them all. Indeed, the sun diffuses its heat and light all over the universe. Similarly, the Supreme Sun, Govinda, diffuses his light and heat and light everywhere in the form of his different potencies. The sun's heat and light are non-different from the sun. In the same way, the unlimited potencies of Govinda are non-different from Govinda himself. Therefore, the all-pervasive Brahman is the all-pervasive Govinda. The Bhagavad Gita 14:27 clearly mentions that the impersonal Brahman is dependent upon Govinda. That is the real conception of absolute knowledge. Text 17. Naked saints and sannyasis who undergo severe physical penances, who can raise the semen to the brain, and who are completely equipoised in Brahman, can live in the realm known as Brahmaloka. Purport. In this verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 11.7.47, Vatavasanat refers to mendicants who do not care about anything material, including clothing, but who depend wholly on nature. Such sages do not cover their bodies, even in severe winter or scorching sunshine. They take great pains not to avoid any kind of bodily suffering, and they live by begging from door to door. They never discharge their semen, either knowingly or unknowingly. By such celibacy, they are able to raise the semen to the brain. Thus they become most intelligent and develop very sharp memories. Their minds are never disturbed or diverted from contemplation on the absolute truth, nor are they ever contaminated by desire for material enjoyment. By practicing austerities under strict discipline, such mendicants attain the neutral state transcendental to the modes of nature and merge into the impersonal Brahman. 18. He who is described in the Yoga Shastras as the indwelling Supersoul, Atma Antaryami, is also a plenary portion of Govinda's personal expansion. Purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is by nature joyful. His enjoyments or pastimes are completely transcendental. He is in the fourth dimension of existence, for although the material world is measured by the limitations of length, breadth, and height, the Supreme Lord is completely unlimited in his body, form, and existence. He is not materially attached to any of the affairs within the material cosmos. The material world is created by the expansion of his Purusha avatars, who direct the aggregate material energy and all the conditioned souls. By understanding the three expansions of the Purusha, a living entity can transcend the position of knowing only the 24 elements of the material world. One of the expansions of Mahavishnu is Kshirodakashayi Vishnu, the Supersoul within every living entity. As the Supersoul of the total aggregate of living entities, or the second Purusha, he is known as Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. As the creator or original cause of innumerable universes, or the first Purusha, who was lying on the causal ocean, he is called Mahavishnu. The three Purushas direct the affairs of the material world. The authorized scriptures direct the individual souls to revive their relationship with the Supersoul. Indeed, the system of yoga is the process of transcending the influence of the material elements by establishing a connection with the Purusha known as Paramatma. One who has thoroughly studied the intricacies of creation can know very easily that this Paramatma is the plenary portion of the Supreme Being, Sri Krishna. Text 19. As the one sun appears reflected in countless jewels, so Govinda manifests himself as Paramatma in the hearts of all living beings. Purport. The sun is situated in a specific location, but is reflected in countless jewels and appears in innumerable localized aspects. Similarly, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, although eternally present in his transcendental abode, Goloka Vrindavan, is reflected in everyone's heart as the Super Soul. In the Upanishads, it is said that the Jiva, living entity, and the Paramatma, Super Soul, are like two birds sitting in the same tree. The Super Soul engages the living being in executing fruitive work as a result of his deeds in the past. But the Paramatma has nothing to do with such engagements. As soon as the living being ceases to act in terms of fruitive work and takes to the service of the Lord, the Paramatma, coming to know of his supremacy, he is immediately freed from all designations, and in that pure state he enters the kingdom of God, known as Vaikuntha. The Paramatma, or Super Soul, the guide of the individual living beings, does not take part in fulfilling the desires of the living beings, but he arranges for the fulfillment by material nature. As soon as an individual soul arranges for the as soon as an individual soul becomes conscious of his eternal relationship with the Super Soul and looks only toward him, he at once becomes free from the entanglements of material enjoyment. Christian philosophers who do not believe in the law of karma put forward the argument that it is absurd to say one must accept the results of past deeds of which he has no consciousness. A criminal is first reminded of his misdeeds by witnesses in a law court, and when he is punished, and then he is punished. If death is complete forgetfulness, why should a person be punished for his past misdeeds? The conception of the Paramatma is an invincible answer to these fallacious arguments. The Paramatma is the witness of the past activities of the individual living beings. A man may not remember what he has done in his childhood, but his father, who has seen him grow through different stages of development, certainly remembers. Similarly, the living being undergoes many changes of body through many lives, but the Supersoul is always with him and remembers all his activities, despite his evolution through different bodies. Text 20. Atava bahunaitena kim gyatena tavarjuna vishtabhyaham idam kritsnam ekangshena stato jigat. Sound familiar? That's Bhagavad Gita, 11th chapter. So anyone who thinks that the Bhagavad Gita is less important should remember that the verses of the Caitanya-caritämrta are sprinkled all through with verses of the Bhagavad Gita. The personality of Godhead Sri Krishna said, "What more shall I say to you? I live throughout this cosmic manifestation merely by my single plenary portion." Purport. Describing his own potencies to Arjuna, the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna spoke this verse of the Bhagavad Gita 10:42. Now notice it's translated a little differently. If you read the Bhagavad Gita, it's worded a little differently. So Prabhupada knew just how to translate the same verse in a different context and make it perfect, make it fit perfectly. Here's a verse from the Bhagavatam, spoken by Bhishma Dev. Tamima maham majam sharira bhajam ridi dishtitam atmakalpitanam patidrishim even naikat darkam ekam samadigato smi viduta beda moaha. Grandfather Bhishma said, as the one sun appears differently situated to different seers, so also do you, the unborn, appear differently represented as the Paramatma in every living being. But when a seer knows himself to be one of your own servitors, no longer does he maintain such duality. Thus I am now able to comprehend your eternal forms, knowing well the Paramatma to be only your plenary portion. Purport. This verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 1:9-42 was spoken by Bhishma Dev, the father of the Kurus, when he was lying on the bed of arrows at the last stage of his life. Arjuna, Krishna, and numberless friends, admirers, relatives, and sages had gathered on the scene as Maharaj Yudhishthira took moral and religious instructions from the dying Bhishma. Just as the final moment arrived for him, Bhishma spoke this verse while looking at Lord Krishna. Just as the one sun is the object of vision of many different persons, so the one partial representation of Lord Krishna, who lives in the heart of every living being, every living entity, as the Paramatma, and is a variously perceived object. One who comes intimately in touch with Lord Krishna by engaging in his eternal service sees the Supersoul as the localized partial representation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Bhishma knew the Supersoul to be a partial expansion of Lord Krishna, whom he understood to be the supreme, unborn, transcendental form. Text 22. That Govinda personally appears as Chaitanya Gosai. No other Lord is as merciful in delivering the fallen souls. Purport. Having described Govinda in terms of his Brahman and Paramatma features, now the author of Sri Caitanya-caritämrta advances his argument to prove that Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the identical personality. The same Lord Krishna, in the garb of a devotee of Sri Krishna, descended to this mortal world to reclaim the fallen human beings who had misunderstood the personality of Godhead even after the explanation of the Bhagavad Gita. In the Bhagavad Gita, the personality of Godhead, Krishna, Sri Krishna, directly instructed that Bhagavad Gita, the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, directly instructed that the Supreme is a person, that the impersonal Brahman is his glowing effulgence, and that the Paramatma is his partial representation. All men were therefore advised to follow the path of Sri Krishna, leaving aside all mundane isms. Offenders misunderstood this instruction, however, because of their poor fund of knowledge. Thus, by his causeless mercy, unlimited mercy, Sri Krishna came again as Sri Chaitanya Gosai. The author of Sri Caitanya-caritämrta most emphatically stresses that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Sri Krishna himself. He is not an expansion of the Prakash or Vilas forms of Sri Krishna. He is the Swayam Rupa, Govinda. Apart from the relevant scriptural evidence forwarded by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, there are innumerable other scriptural statements regarding Lord Chaitanya's being the Supreme Lord himself. The following examples may be cited. Now, Prabhupada's going to lay it on thick here. 1. From the Chaitanya Upanishad. 5. Gorak Sarvatma Mahapurusho Mahatma Mahayogi Tri Gunatita Sattvarupo Bhaktim Loke Kashati. Lord Gora, who is the all-pervading Supersoul, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, appears as a great saint and powerful mystic who is above the three modes of nature and is the emblem of transcendental activity. He disseminates the cult of devotion throughout the world. So this is Veda. The Upanishads are appendices to the four Vedas. This is Shruti, describing Lord Chaitanya. 2. From the Shvetashvatara Upanishad, 6.7 and 3.12. Tam Ishwaranam Paramam Maheshwaram. Tam Devatanam Paramam Sadaivatam. Patim Patinam Paramam Parastad. Vidama Devam Bhuvanesham Idyam. The Supreme, O Supreme Lord, you are the Supreme Maheshwara, the worshipable deity of all the demigods and the Supreme Lord of all worlds. You are the controller of all controllers, the Supreme Person, the Personality of Godhead, the Lord of everything worshipable. Mahan Prabhur Vai Purusha Satvasyaisha Pravartakaha Su Nirmalam Imam Praptim Ishano Jyotir Avyayaha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is Mahāprabhu. Mahan Prabhu, who disseminates transcendental enlightenment. Just to be in touch with him is to be in contact with the indestructible Brahmajyoti. From the Mundaka Upanishad, 3.1.3, Yada Pashyat Pashyate Rukma Varnam Kartaram Isham Purusham Brahmajonim. One who sees that golden-colored Rukma Varnam, that golden-colored personality of Godhead, the Supreme Lord, the Supreme Actor, who is the source of the Supreme Brahman, is liberated. And we saw him in Lord Chaitanya's pastimes. Wherever he went, everyone who saw him immediately became not only liberated, but full of love of God, just by seeing him. 4. From Srimad Bhagavatam 11.5, 33 and 34, and 7.9.38. Jayam sada paribhavagnam abhishtadoham tirtaspadam shivivirinchi nutam chadanyam brityartaham brityartiham pranatapala bhavadbhapotam vande mahapurushe charanadavindam. We offer our respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of Him, the Lord, upon whom one should always meditate. He destroys insults to His devotees. He removes the distresses of His devotees and satisfies their desires. He, the abode of all holy places and the shelter of all sages, is worshipable by Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma. He is the boat of the demigods for crossing the ocean of birth and death. Tyaktva sudusjaja shurep sitarajam lakshmin dharmishta arya pachasa tadagad aranyam mayamrigam dayititep dayitayep sitam anbatavad vande mahapurusha techaranada vindam. Bhagavatam 11.5.34. We offer our respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of the Lord, upon whom one should always meditate. He left his householder life, leaving aside his eternal consort, whom even the denizens of heaven adore. He went into the forest to deliver the fallen souls, who are put into illusion by material energy. Prahlad Maharaj said, Itam nritiryav rishideva jasavatarayar lokan vibha vayasi hangsi jagat pratipan dharmam mahapurusha pachayuganuvritam chanakalo yad abhavas triyugo tasatwam. My Lord, you kill the enemies of the world in your multifarious incarnations, in the families of men, animals, demigods, rishis, aquatics, and so on. Thus you illuminate the worlds with transcendental knowledge. In the age of Kali, O Mahapurusha, you sometimes appear in a covered incarnation, Chalakalo Yad. Therefore you are known as Triyuga, one who appears in only 3 yugas. From the Krishna Yamala Tantra, Punya Chetre Navadvipe Vavishami Shachi Shrutaha. I shall appear in the holy land of Navadvip as the son of Shachi Devi. From the Vayu Purana, Kalo Sankirtanaram Be Bhavishyami Shachi Sutaha. Amazing Puranas. In the age of Kali, when the Sankirtan movement is inaugurated, I shall descend as the son of Sachi Devi. Pretty explicit. 7. From the Brahma Yamala Tantra, Ata Vaham Dharadhame Bhutva mad bhakta rupa drik, mayayam cha bhavishami kalo sankirtanagame. Sometimes I personally appear on the surface of the world in the garb of a devotee. Specifically, I appear as the son of Shachi in Kali Yuga to start the Sankirtan movement. Amazing. All through the Vedas. 8. From the Ananta Sangita, Sa eva Bhagavan Krishno Radhika Prana Vallabhaha Srishyado Sajagannato Gora Asin Maheshwari. O Supreme Person, Sri Krishna himself, who is the life of Sri Radharani and is the Lord of the universe in creation, maintenance, and annihilation, appears as Gora, O Maheshwari. Text 23. Lord Narayana, who dominates the transcendental world, is full in 6 opulences. He is the personality of Godhead, the Lord of the goddess of fortune. 24. The personality of Godhead is He who is described as the absolute whole in the Vedas, Bhagavatam, Upanishads, and other transcendental literatures. No one is equal to Him. Purport. There are innumerable authoritative statements in the Vedas regarding the personal feature of the Absolute Truth. Some of them are as follows. From the Rik Samhita, 122:20. Tad Vishno Paramam Padam Sada Pashanti Suryaha Daviva Chakshuratatam. The personality of Godhead Vishnu is the Absolute Truth, whose lotus feet all the demigods are always eager to see. Like the sun god, he pervades everything by the rays of his energy. He appears impersonal to imperfect eyes. 2. From the Narayanartarva Shida Upanishad. From the Narayanartarva Shira Upanishad 1 and 2. Narayanad eva samputpadyante, Narayanat pravartante, Narayane praliyante. Atanityo Narayana, Narayana evadam sarvam yadbhutam yachchabhavyam. Shruto deva eko Narayano, nadvitiyo stikas chit. It is from Narayana only that everything is generated, by Him only that everything is maintained, and in Him only that everything is annihilated. Therefore, Narayana is eternally existing. Everything that exists now or will be created in the future is nothing but Narayana, who is the unadulterated deity. There is only Narayana and nothing else. From the Narayana Upanishad 1:4. Yatak pasuta jagatak pasuti. Narayana is the source from whom all the universes emanate. 4. From the highest Shirsha Pancharatra. Paramatma Harir Deva. Hari is the Supreme Lord. 5. From Srimad Bhagavatam 11.3, 34, and 35. Narayana Vidhanasya Brahmanak Paramatmanaha Nishtam Artata no Vaktum Yuyam Hi Brahmavitamaha. O best of the Brahmanas, please tell us of the position of Narayana, who is also known as Brahman and Paramatma. Stityudbhava pralaya heturasya Yat swapna jagada shishup tishu sadbihischa dehendriyasu hridayani charanti yena sanjivitani tadavehi padam narendra. O King, know him who is causeless and yet is the cause of creation, maintenance, and annihilation. He exists in the three states of consciousness, namely waking, dreaming, and deep sleep, as well as beyond them. He enlivens the body, the senses, the breath of life, and the heart, and thus they move. Know him to be supreme. Text 25. Through their service, devotees see that personality of Godhead, just as the denizens of heaven see the personality of the sun. Purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has his eternal form, which cannot be seen by material eyes or mental speculation. Only by transcendental devotional service can one understand the transcendental form of the Lord. The comparison is made here to the qualifications for viewing the personal features of the Sun God. The Sun God is a person who, although not visible to our eyes, is seen from the higher planets by the demigods, whose eyes are suitable for seeing through the glaring sunshine that surrounds him. Every planet has its own atmosphere according to the influence of the arrangement of material nature. It is therefore necessary to have a particular type of bodily construction to reach a particular planet. The inhabitants of Earth may be able to reach the moon, but the inhabitants of heaven can reach even the fiery sphere called the sun. What is impossible for man on earth is easy for the demigods in heaven because of their different bodies. Similarly, to see the Supreme Lord, one must have the spiritual eyes of devotional service. The personality of Godhead is unapproachable by those who are habituated to speculation about the absolute truth in terms of experimental scientific thought, without reference to the transcendental vibration. The ascending approach to the absolute truth ends in the realization of impersonal Brahman and the localized Paramatma, but not the Supreme Transcendental Personality. 26. Those who walk the paths of knowledge and yoga worship only him, for it is him that they perceive as the impersonal Brahman and localized Paramatma. Purport. Those who are fond of mental speculation, Jnanamarg, or want to meditate in mystic yoga to find the absolute truth, must approach the impersonal effulgence of the Lord and his partial representation, respectively. Such persons cannot realize the eternal form of the Lord. Text 27. Thus one may understand the glories of the Lord through different modes of worship, as the example of the sun illustrates. Text 28. Narayana and Sri Krishna are the same personality of Godhead, but although they are identical, their bodily features are different. Text 29. This personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, has 2 hands and holds a flute, whereas the other, Narayana, has 4 hands with conch, wheel, mace, and lotus. Purport. Narayana is identical to Sri Krishna. They are in fact the same person manifested differently, like a high court judge who is differently situated in his office and at home. As Narayana, the Lord is manifested with 4 hands, but as Krishna, he is manifested with 2 hands. Text 30. O Lord of Lords, you are the seer of all creation. You are indeed everyone's dearest life. Are you not therefore my father, Narayana? Narayana refers to the one whose abode is in the water born from Nara, Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. And that Narayana is your plenary portion. All your plenary portions are transcendental. They are absolute and are not creations of Maya. Purport. This statement, which is from Srimad Bhagavatam 10.14.14, was spoken by Lord Brahma in his prayers to Lord Krishna after Krishna had defeated him by displaying his mystic powers. Brahma had tried to test Lord Krishna to see if he were really the Supreme Personality of Godhead, playing as a cowherd boy. Brahma stole all the other boys and their calves from the pasturing grounds, but when he returned to the pastures, he saw that all the boys and calves were still there, for Lord Krishna had created them all again. When Brahma saw this mystic power of Lord Krishna's, he admitted defeat and offered prayers to the Lord, addressing him as the proprietor and seer of everything in the creation, and as the super soul who is within each and every living entity and is dear to all. That Lord Krishna is Narayana, the father of Brahma, because Lord Krishna's plenary expansion, Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, after placing himself on the Garbha ocean, created Brahma from his own body. Mahavishnu in the causal ocean and Kshirodakashayi Vishnu, the super soul in everyone's heart, are also transcendental expansions of the same truth. Text 31. After Brahma had offended Krishna by stealing his playmates and calves, he begged the Lord's pardon for his offensive act and prayed for the Lord's mercy. 32. I took birth from the lotus that grew from your navel. Thus you are both my father and mother, and I am your son. 33. Parents never take seriously the offenses of their children. I therefore beg your pardon and ask for your benediction. 34. Sri Krishna said, O Brahma, your father is Narayana. I am but a cowherd boy. How can you be my son? 35. Brahma replied, Are you not Narayana? You are certainly Narayana. Please listen as I state the proofs. Text 36. All the living beings within the material and spiritual worlds are ultimately born of you, for you are the super soul of them all. Purport. The cosmic manifestation is generated by the interaction of the three modes of material nature. The transcendental world has no such material modes, although it is nevertheless full of spiritual variegatedness. In that spiritual world, there are also innumerable living entities who are eternally liberated souls engaged in transcendental loving service to Lord Krishna. The conditioned souls, who remain within the material cosmic creation, are subjected to the threefold miseries and pangs of material nature. They exist in different species of life because they are eternally averse to transcendental loving devotion to the Supreme Lord. Sankarshan is the original source of all living entities because they are all expansions of his marginal potency. Some of them are conditioned by material nature, whereas others are under the protection of the spiritual nature. The material nature is a conditional manifestation of spiritual nature, just as smoke is a conditional stage of fire. Smoke is dependent on fire, but in a blazing fire, there is no place for smoke. Smoke disturbs, but fire serves. Smoke disturbs, but fire serves. The serving spirit of the residents of the transcendental world is displayed in 5 varieties of relationships with the Supreme Lord, who is the central enjoyer. In the material world, everyone is a self-centered enjoyer of mundane happiness and distress. One considers himself the Lord of everything and tries to enjoy the illusory energy, but he is not successful because he is not independent. He is but a minute particle of the energy of Lord Sankarshan. All living beings exist under the control of the Supreme Lord, who is therefore called Narayana. Text 37. As the earth is the original cause and shelter of all pots made of earth, so you are the ultimate cause and shelter of all living beings. Purport. As the vast earth is the source for the ingredients of all earthen pots, so the Supreme Soul is the source for the complete substance of all individual living entities. The cause of all causes, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the cause of the living entities. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 7.10, where the Lord says, Bijam mam sarvabhutanam, I am the seed of all living entities. And in the Upanishads, Katha Upanishad 2.2.13, which say, Nityo nityanam, chaitanascha chaitananam, the Lord is the supreme leader among all eternal living beings. The Lord is the reservoir of all cosmic manifestation, animate and inanimate. The advocates of Vishishtadvaitavad philosophy explain the Vedanta Sutra by saying that although the living entity, I'll read that again. The advocates of Vishishtadvaitavad philosophy explain the Vedanta Sutra by saying that although the living entity has 2 kinds of bodies, subtle, consisting of mind, intelligence, and false ego, and gross, consisting of the 5 basic elements, and although he thus lives in 3 bodily dimensions, gross, subtle, and spiritual, he is nevertheless a spiritual soul. Similarly, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who emanates the material and spiritual worlds, is the Supreme Spirit. As an individual spirit soul is almost identical to his gross and subtle bodies, so the Supreme Lord is almost identical to the material and spiritual worlds. This is so profound. I'll read that again. As an individual spirit soul is almost identical to his gross and subtle bodies, so the Supreme Lord is almost identical to the material and spiritual worlds. The material world, full of conditioned souls trying to lord it over matter, is a manifestation of the external energy of the Supreme Lord. And the spiritual world, full of perfect servitors of the Lord, is a manifestation of his internal energy. Since all living entities are minute sparks of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is the Supreme Soul in both the material and spiritual worlds. The Vaishnavas, following Lord Chaitanya, stress the doctrine of Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva, which states that the Supreme Lord, being the cause and effect of everything, is inconceivably, simultaneously, one with his manifestations of energy and different from them. And we'll stop there for tonight at verse 39. Hare Krishna. Okay, time for all of you to shine. Radharaman's grabbing the mic before I can get to the hands, through the hands of Abhay.
Well, hopefully I can start it off whilst others are typing their questions, reflections. But I just thought it was interesting how Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, the Mahābhāgavata devotee, goes to great lengths to give underpinning philosophy. He doesn't just go straight into pastimes on the same basis that the Bhagavatam develops in progressively, and Prabhupada advises us to read it in that way.
Exactly.
It seems the devotees who actually are advanced, they do it that way and they don't just jump.
Not usually. Every time. And especially when they're talking to new people, especially. And all the time. Therefore, sometimes devotees get bored when they read Prabhupada's books because they're hearing the same kind of thing again and again. I once heard, who was it? Maybe it was Gopi Pranadana Prabhu. But I accepted this immediately, and I realized that this is very true, that if someone hears something that's true, he relishes it, even if he hears it again and again and again. But someone who's not honest, when he hears something that's true once, twice, 3 times, then he gets bored, he gets tired of it, and he wants to go to something else. Of course, the teachings, even if one is hearing and hearing again and satisfied, the teachings naturally take that person to the highest realms of devotional service, especially the Caitanya-caritämrta. It goes farther even than the Bhagavatam, because it gives intimate details of the activities, loving pastimes and relationships in the spiritual world, all the way to Radha and Krishna. Very rare. It's described that at least 96% of the Vedic hymns from the 4 Vedas are about ritualistic sacrifices for satisfying the demigods. And 4% or less are Upanishadic or Upasana. So, and among the Upasana verses, very few come to the point of Radha and Krishna. Therefore, it doesn't mean that just because they're not there very much, that they are less true. It's because they are the most true that they appear in the least frequent way. Prabhupada uses the example of the real gems, the real gems that are this big and pure and cut perfectly are hugely valuable, hundreds and thousands of dollars or thousands of dollars. They only find them in a few stores, the real high-end Tiffany's and whatever. But you can find ones that look just like it in, Walmart and any common, general store. They'll have a little section where they'll have, glass jewels. So it's like that. It's exactly like that. So one has to be highly cultured, highly educated, and highly qualified, not with material wealth, but with understanding and knowledge, realized knowledge, to be able to hear those verses, hear those descriptions. That's why Caitanya-caritämrta so carefully goes through the basic philosophy. And like you said, I thought that those are wonderful purports, where Prabhupada is bringing out all the different, and he's basing it on the commentaries mainly of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who are taking from the Vedas and all these different places. So this is the way. We don't need to make up something. I was thinking, when he started to describe on how Krishna is Lord Chaitanya, the scientists expecting him to bring him out bring it out, put it on a table, slice it up, whatever they do with chemicals to make it titrated and do this and do that to it in order to tell what it is. But this process is completely different. It's just hearing from persons who are actually seeing that these things are real. And you take it in directly. And if you hear, again, I repeat this, we'll be hearing this a lot, especially towards the beginning of the ending of Caitanya-caritämrta, where Krishnadas Kaviraj says repeatedly that if you hear these pastimes in this book with faith and love and without argument, then you will get Krishna Prema immediately. So if you're not getting Krishna Prema by reading this, it means that you lack three things: faith, love, and a submissive nature. Humility. I was just telling Abhay this today, that reliability over time, if one is steady and consistent in their service, in their relationships, in their whole existence over time, then that automatically breeds faith in the person you're dealing with, the person they're dealing with. That's what Prabhupada was looking for. Reliability over time. Take responsibility. Do the sadhana bhakti every morning. Chant the prayers. Go through the shastras every day. And you just become, for lack of better words, blissed out. And then nothing can disturb you. That's the goal of transcendental knowledge, the purpose of transcendental knowledge, the effect of transcendental knowledge. How can you love someone that you don't know anything about? Oh, I just got a new girlfriend. She's fantastic. Really, what's her name? I don't know. Where does she live? I don't know. What's her address? Nothing. You think this person's crazy. And yet, everybody who talks about God, if you ask them, who is God? They have no idea. In God we trust. Now America's getting the result of that. So-called trust in God. 5% of the population, 80% of the resources, and leaving that many people without resources. And eventually, what goes around comes around. Hare Krishna. Okay, anybody there out in Cyberland?
First question is from Yudutama.
Well, I heard first question is, but you swallowed Yudutama. You just swallow right at the end. You have to keep the air going. You stop the air going. Oh, Yudutama, and it doesn't come out. Go ahead. Try again.
The first question is from Yudutama.
That's better.
And he says, Hare Krishna Gurudev.
Hare Krishna Yudutama.
Glories to Prabhupada.
Oh, glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Could you please explain in more detail how the spirit soul is almost identical to the gross and subtle bodies?
How hard is it for you to realize that you're not the body and the mind? That's how close it is. You can understand how close it is to the body and mind, to being the body and the mind, by how hard it is for you to realize that you're not your body and your mind. When was the last time you realized that you're not your body and your mind and felt completely free from material disturbances and mental disturbances? That's how close you are to being the body and the mind. Hare Krishna.
Next is from Rati Manjari.
Hare Krishna Rati.
She says, Dear Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances.
Oh, Rati Manjari, I don't know, I can't remember whether I thanked you, but you put a little donation into my account, I was told, and I didn't know who it came from until I asked, and I found that it was you, and I thank you very much for that. It was so sweet of you. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
She says, thank you for yet another wonderful episode of Transcendental Knowledge. It was especially inspiring to hear all the verses that predict and prove the descendant of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as non-different from Sri Krishna.
Yes. Everyone, without exception, learns everything without exception from an authority. When you're a baby, you learn how to potty train from your mommy and daddy. You don't even know how to do that. From there, through everything else, you learn everything that you know from an authority. That's the process.
From Rati Manjari just wrote something more.
Jai Rati.
So you were just now talking about the rarity and the value of a true jewel, which is perfectly shaped. This made me think of something I have been wondering about, which is only slightly connected. I hope you don't mind me asking. I have seen on YouTube movies that people are cutting stones in the Gandaki River to check if they are Shalagram Shilas. Many times they apparently are. I was wondering whether that is
Many times they probably are, or probably aren't. I don't understand what you're saying.
Many times it turns out that they are shalagrams.
Well, how do you know? How do they know?
She doesn't say.
They're cutting them, and some of them are and some of them aren't. How do they know?
She's wondering, is it bona fide to do that?
I don't think so. To cut a Shalagram Shila, I don't think that would be bona fide. See, the thing is, Krishna, he doesn't just reveal himself to everyone. That's the point that we're making. That's the point that this section of Caitanya-caritämrta is making. So if you are so ignorant that you'll go to the Gandaki and start to cut the stones to find out which ones are or aren't shalagrams, it means you haven't got any idea. If you go and look for gold and you have no idea what gold is, how will you find it? Now, I don't know who these people are, but I know one thing. Anybody who actually knows what a Shalagram Shila is and can recognize one would never try to cut it. That means these are gross materialists, and they have no way of knowing by doing that. It's completely bogus. That's why only Brahmanas are allowed, actually, in the Vedic scriptures to worship shalagrams. You have to be qualified with Brahminical qualifications to worship the Shalagram Shila. And as it says in the Bhagavatam, it doesn't just mean, wearing a thread over your shoulder or, receiving a mantra in your ear. You actually have to realize the mantra. You have to reform your character so that you are capable, through purified mind, purified senses, to see the Shalagram Shila. So I think it's safe to say that it's not bona fide.
She writes, I remember Srila Prabhupada talking of people who use the shalagram stone simply for cracking nuts.
Yeah. Correct. Answered your own question. Anything else? These are not such easy verses and purports to ask about. They're so much detail and so overwhelming.
Well, there was just the point that you were actually making. We briefly commented as we went along that purport where Prabhupada gave a lot of proofs from Shastra,
Yeah.
including the Caitanya-Upanishad, which is
Yeah.
from the original 4 Vedas. So
Yeah.
proof right from the beginning
Right.
that
from
Lord
the beginning,
Chaitanya is the
down to
Supreme
Bhagavatam.
Personality of
That's
Godhead.
right. That's right. And it includes the Bhagavatam verses because the Bhagavatam is Nigamakalpa, Taror, Galitam Balam, the ripened fruit of the Vedic scriptures. So like I said, this is scientific evidence. It never changes. Scientific evidence never changes. It's eternally true. Like science, we don't disagree with all scientific evidence. We use the numbering system all the time. You know, we don't doubt that 1 + 2 is equal to 2. When I was traveling around in America preaching and going to house programs and stuff, I met this one guy who was really into new math. At that time it was new math. I don't even know if it still exists. But then I made the obvious point, you know, Krishna consciousness is scientific in the sense that it never changes, just like 1 + 1 is 2, never changes in mathematics. And he said, no, that's not true. He said, what? And then he said, no, in new math, it can be something else. I said, well, okay, we'll see how long it lasts, this new math. Speculative knowledge. It doesn't get there. It doesn't teach anything because the mind is always flickering, and if the thing's concocted by a flickering mind, then it becomes flickering. The conclusion you come to is flickering. That's why if you hold on to Krishna and Krishna consciousness and this knowledge, which never changes, even if you can't understand it in the beginning, if you keep hearing it systematically and regularly, it goes in and it changes your consciousness and gives you steady scientific information and which turns into realization over time. That's the process. Sometimes you hear the question, how does that work? You know, the super soul. And like the one question we got about, how is it that the soul is very close to being the body and the mind? How does that work? Well, I mean, you're in it. and it's pretty hard for you to realize you're different than your mind and your body, so therefore you can understand how close it is to you. It's close to you because it's near and dear to you, because you're in the body. And Krishna's there. The body's dear because you're there. When you're not there, the body's worthless to everybody, even your so-called loved ones. I mean, they'll cry over the coffin, but then they'll burn it or bury it and get rid of it so it doesn't smell up the house, you know. So all the lovely qualities that soul has, they're coming through the body. Therefore, we see effulgence and beauty and aura and everything. But then if you just scratch a little deeper in the smells and the other things, and you cut yourself and blood comes out and you have to wear Band-Aids, or you break a bone, or you got weird hips like me and you got to waddle around like a duck, or a seagull.
Family of swans on the canal.
Oh yeah, that's auspicious. We just heard that family of swans, is very auspicious. They don't go to places that are not auspicious. Should write a little piece in the local gazette. This is proof that Hyde is a haven because families of swans come here to visit. Science of omens coming from the Vedas. Okay, what else? That's it. Okay, folks, that's all she wrote for tonight. Pretty good. Hour and 15 minutes, hour and 20 minutes, right on the beam. Thank you very much, all of you that are out there. I know there's lots that are listening and not necessarily, commenting all the time or asking questions or whatever. But we really, really relish hearing and chanting with you. It has become my life and soul, and it's the perfect time, this lockdown. Of course, now it's starting to open up, but still, now that you have this taste from hearing when you're locked down and you have no choice, now you can make the choice, and hear every day. And I think many of you are, and we're so grateful, and we hope that you're getting happiness from it, like we are. Hare Krishna, Sri Caitanya-caritämrta ki jai. Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bo. We'll see you tomorrow night, same time, same place. Wait, Abhay is sticking his finger up in the air, meaning there's something else.
Rati Manjari says, the funny and detached way you speak about the bodily substances is gradually making me a little more detached from pursuing sense gratification.
Oh, good. Congratulations. Sri Caitanya-caritämrta ki jai. Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bo. Thank you very much.
There's something else from Aparna Verma that just came up.
Okay, we have something, a last minute, from Apurva Varna.
So he quotes verse 22, the evidence from the Svetasvatara Upanishad 6:7. O Supreme Lord, you are the Supreme Maheshvara, the worshipable deity of all demigods, and the Supreme Lord of all lords. You are the controller of all controllers, the personality of Godhead, the Lord of everything worshipable. How is this an evidence of Lord Chaitanya being the Supreme Personality?
It's partly an evidence that Krishna is a person. So what's being done here is, first of all, there is proving that Krishna is a person, and then this Mahapurusha is a name for Krishna. Those who are realized know that this is a name for Krishna, for Lord Chaitanya. All of the verses fit together. You can't take one out and look at it. They all fit together. Some of them are proving that Krishna is a person and not an imperson, and some of them are showing by evidence that they're there, that these expressions are there. They're evidence that Krishna is a person and that Lord Chaitanya is Krishna. And that might not satisfy everybody. It may seem like it's circular reasoning, but because it's coming from who it's coming from and where it's coming from, we accept it. Just like cow dung is considered pure, but the stool of an animal is considered contaminating. You have to take a bath as soon as you touch it. But they use cow dung for cleaning things. Makes no sense. Makes no logical sense. But we accept it because it's coming from the Vedas. And then now they've actually tested it and found that it has all antiseptic properties. The cow dung and cow urine. So it's like that. It's not, it doesn't always one-to-one correlate with linear thinking. It takes lateral thinking to see how those verses are put together in a way that reveals Lord Chaitanya to be God. And if you take one of them out of a sequence of I don't know how many there were that show exactly, directly, that Lord Chaitanya, like Nadia, Shachi, Sutta, son of Sachi, direct. But not everyone's going to be like that. But those who can go deeper, who can see and hear, they hear the evidence. So just because you can't hear the evidence doesn't mean that everyone cannot, or no one can hear the evidence.
Says thank you very much, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna, thank you very much for your perceptive scrutiny. Okay, we'll try one more time. Sri Caitanya-caritämrta ki jai. Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bo. We'll see you tomorrow night because reliability over time breeds faith. See you tomorrow. Hare Krishna.